Welcome to twoquestions.tv. My guest today is Tom Schwab, and we're talking about podcasts. Welcome to twoquestions.tv. I'm Susan Baroncini-Moe. Joining me today is Tom Schwab, the founder and CEO of Interview Valet, the premier white glove concierge level podcast guest marketing service. Tom was among the first to use targeted podcast interviews as the foundation piece in a content marketing strategy. And he's the author of this book, Podcast Guest Profits, Grow Your Business with a Targeted Interview Strategy, which you can see I've folded down pages. There's notes in here. Oh my goodness. Tom, welcome to the show.
Susan, thank you for having me. I am thrilled to be here.
And I'm already having microphone envy. So, all right, Tom, why podcasts?
To me, it's easy to do. And the biggest problem that we all have right now is we're obscure, right? There's loads of people that we could help with your product or service right now. You could help them and they could give you money. There's only one thing standing in your way, is that they don't know you exist, right? You're obscure to them. And a lot of people talk about, well, how can I break through the noise? You're not breaking through the noise anymore. You're just adding to the noise. You know, if Apple is paying and Google and GM and Coke, if they're all paying, there's no way that I or you or anybody else can ever break through that noise. It's almost like going to a rock concert. We may be yelling, but nobody's hearing us. So from that standpoint, how do you get in on the conversation that's already going on? You know, how do you get your ideal customers to know, like, and trust you? You know, there's a great tweet out there by Rand Fishkin, and Rand started a company called Moz. And he said, the best way to sell something today is not to sell anything, but to earn the respect, the awareness, and the trust of those who you might serve.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really what podcasts are all about. And, you know, doing a podcast can be tough. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And I just
Tell me. Preach.
Well, and anybody that says doing a podcast is easy has either never done it or never done it well.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of work that goes into that. So, hey, leave Susan a rating and review. She deserves it.
Thank you. Yes.
Well, because like even now, I'll be on the interview here. I'm going to have fun, all the rest of this. Then I go on my merry way, and you still have a lot of work to do for it. And
well,
so that was
a YouTube show too. So it's like double the work. It's a lot. Yeah.
And the promotion and everything with that. So we've always looked at that to say, if you want to get more return on investment, you can either get more results out of it or put less into it. And so from that standpoint, podcasts, you can, be the host, you can be the guest, you can be both. But to me, you can get the best return on investment being that guest on a targeted podcast interview that your client's already listening to.
Yeah. Well, I won't lie. As I read your book, I found myself thinking, man, I maybe need to get out of this racket and start being a guest. I've done my fair share of interviews, right, where I've been on podcasts and shows, and you're right, it's tons of fun. But being a host is more work, but it, to me, it provides a different opportunity, which is, it gives me a really good excuse to read a lot of books that I really want to read. So it's win-win for me. But you've outlined a really specific, comprehensive strategy in the book, and it's a strategy that you kind of have made pretty easy to follow. What are some of the common mistakes that you see when people are interviewed on podcasts? Like when they're okay, I'm following your plan, Tom, but they're making mistakes. Where do they fall?
I would say the biggest mistake is leaving steps out, right? If you want to bake a cake, make sure you don't leave any of the ingredients out. If you want to build a car, don't forget about the transmission. And that's what we see. A lot of people will say, well, I really want to be on podcast interviews, but I don't want to spend too much time prospecting, finding the right shows. I'm just going to go on random shows. Well, random shows give you random results. Yeah. And so really we look at this as a system. And, it's the prospecting, the pitching, the preparing for the show. There's nothing that will ruin your credibility more than getting onto a podcast or any show that you have never listened to before. or don't know who you're talking to, who the audience is, what kind of questions they ask. You know, it's like the old thing. If you get up on stage in Cincinnati and the first words are out of your mouth is "Hello, Columbus," they stopped listening. So I would say from that standpoint, we'll have a lot of people that will say, hey, do I have to do all of these steps? And I'm like, you don't have to. You're a grown person. But
Make
I'll
good
tell
choices.
that's right. I can tell you that if you follow the steps, you'll get predictable results. And you know, I always laugh and think back in high school. One time, I made a chocolate cake for a girlfriend, and I had never done it before, and I was trying to do it from scratch. It was baking soda, baking powder. It was just a little bit. What difference did it make? So I left out that part, and it didn't turn out really well.
No.
So from that standpoint, I would say to people, don't reinvent the wheel. Just follow the system. It's very reproducible. Learn from others. You know, one of the things that I've been on over 1,200 podcast interviews.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. I'm like the crash test dummy for this. But our clients have been on close to 8,000 now. And I always say it's better to learn from other people's mistakes than your own. You know, when you learn from your own, that hurts. So little things like microphone, you know, make sure you sound great. You know, if you've got a face like mine, you better sound good because you're not going to look that great. So, you know, make sure that you sound good because nothing ruins your credibility more than not knowing who you're talking to, not sounding good. You know, even a thing like before we even started here, checked the microphone. I can't tell you, like one of my early big podcast interviews, I rebooted my computer. I was so excited for it, Susan. And I finished the interview and the person goes, what kind of microphone were you talking on? And I told him and he's like, oh, it sounded a lot worse. And I looked at that point after an hour interview and I was getting picked up by the internal microphone on the computer. You know, when it sounds like you're calling in from a bathroom stall, it ruins your credibility as an expert. So all of those things, those checklists, just go through all of those.
Yeah. Well, and that's true even with video. Video is important. Like the video part of the video is important, but everybody knows the audio. If the audio was horrible, no one will watch the video. No one is here to see what we're talking about. You and I, our faces in this experience, diminishment aside, no one's here to look at us. They're here for the additional information and interest that looking at us provides, but it's really about what we're saying that matters. And I think people forget that. And so, you know, lighting, you know, yes, that's important, but it's what you're saying that counts. Well, Tom, you know, I only get 2 questions. So would you like to join me on the after show?
Most definitely.
Yeah, I get to ask more questions. Okay. Tom, where can people find you?
Sure. So just go to interviewvalet.com/2 questions. And everything Susan and I talked about will be there. The copy of the book that Susan was so graciously to get the paperback copy. I sell those on Amazon, but Susan, I give more of those away. So if you just go to interviewvalet.com/2 questions, you can get a copy of the book. It's our entire strategy of how we do it. The checklist that I mentioned, you know, don't learn from your own mistake, learn from other people's. This is the same checklist that I use every time and all of our clients use. That'll be there. And then there'll also be a link to my calendar. You know, if you want to talk and see, hey, could I use podcast interview marketing? Could I speak directly to my ideal customers and turn other people's listeners into my customers? Just go to interviewvalet.com/2 questions and all the information will be there.
That is awesome. And people, honestly, I've had one of those calls with Tom and it was awesome. I learned more in that conversation about being on podcasts than I think I ever have until reading the book. I mean, honestly, very generous with your time and your mind share. So Tom, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you for all you do.
Let's go to an after show. All right, viewers, if you'd like to join us for the after show, come with us. Tom and I are going over to 2questions.tv. That's our URL. It's the only place you can find the after show. So we're going to see you over there. In the meantime, here's the book. Now, Tom's links and a link to Amazon where you can get the book are down below. Remember, though, you can get this book on the website. I'm just saying, you may not have to spend your $10. All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.